With agriculture right in our corner, we're bound to prosper and be the envy of the area.
So we have two persons who are representing Statia, and we are delighted to have them. Jessica Burkell, she's the Marine Park Manager of the Statia National Park, and Anna Mates is a biologist. Just to give you a little brief background into these two individuals, Jessica Burkell served as Secretary of the Board of the St. Eustatius National Parks Foundation, STNAPA, for 8 years before being sent there to work by the island government in 2007. In those 5 years, she has worked her way up from Office Administrator to Marine Park Manager and Sea Turtle Program Coordinator. Jessica has built up a vast network of contacts in other marine parks in the Caribbean and around the world through her travels, and is always available to assist anyone, anywhere, in whatever way she can. And Anna Mates, a biologist, came to Statia as a volunteer via the Working Abroad program and stayed on with her partner as interns for the Marine Park and the Turtle program. Near the end of her stay, a vacancy for a National Park Ranger opened up, and Anna received the position after scoring the highest in the interview. Anna has been with the National Park for 1.5 years now and is a great asset to the team. So we are delighted to have Jessica and Anna here with us to share some information, and I will turn it over to Jessica and Anna.
First, I'm going to give you a little presentation about what we do on Statia really quickly. We have a marine park on Statia now for 15 years, and our goal, of course, is to conserve what we have, the natural values, the water quality, our native species in the water, and we try as much as possible to involve all the stakeholders. So we're always having meetings, going around to the dive shops, speaking with the fishermen, especially kids and the locals. And we really wanted to work very hard to make Statia an example for the Caribbean. And we achieved it the last few years because we've been named a mentor site by CAMPAB and a few other organizations. So like I say, we started managing it in 1997, and we are working under the Marine Environment Ordinance that was ratified by government in 96. As an NGO, we all have money problems, so we had to close down briefly in 2003. And because we were doing so much work for the government, they finally decided, yes, I think we need to financially support them. Of course, it's not enough. It never is. And Statia also has a distinction of getting National Marine Park status twice. Once in 2007 when we made 10 years old. And then, as you know, the islands broke up. The Netherlands Antilles broke up in 2010. So we were like in limbo for 2 years. And this year, the Director General of our department in Holland gave us national park status again. So now we're within the kingdom, officially a national park again. This is Statia National Marine Park. It goes around the whole island from the high water line, so which is all the beaches on shore, to 30 meters depth. That's why it's shaped like that. And the area that we manage, a national park, is about 1/3 larger than the island itself, so it's a really big area. The dark blue in the north and in the south are our reserves. Absolutely no take zones. All the dots inside are where most of the dive sites are, because there's no anchoring there, so we put in a lot of moorings, over 30-something moorings. And mainly it's no take, so you can enjoy it, you can dive, you can do research there, no fishing. And what we put in the reserves for mainly was to make it easier to do multi-species management. Instead of telling the fishermen you can't take snappers from around the island and having to go and check them when they come in, we just make it simple. Don't take anything from these two areas. It's easier for us with the little bit of staff that we have. And of course, it's like the fisherman's factory, we call it when we explain it to them. It just keeps making fish. And if you what we explain to them is if you leave the area undisturbed, and then the fish, the conch, everything just rapidly builds up the numbers because they're left undisturbed. And as well, the fish don't know where the boundaries are, so they don't know there's a marine reserve there. And we also tell them if you let them alone, they get bigger, and the number of eggs that they produce to restock your fish outside is also an incredible difference depending on the size of the fish. And it takes really a very short time for a reserve to produce benefits. And ours is now 15 years old. Within 5 years, you get a lot of spillover and increase in the fish population. So now we're at a very good production phase on Statia. And how do we achieve our mission? We really try a lot to focus on the children. We have a very extensive school program. We're in every single primary school once a month. We have after-school programs, summer programs, junior rangers programs. So we try to focus on teaching the kids to respect their nature and what they have on Statia. We do a lot of stakeholder interaction, like I told you. We're always helping out the fishermen. We had workshops for them. Even fishermen from St. Kitts took part, so it was very successful. And we do a lot of rescues. For some reason, people hire yachts and then they just jump on a yacht. They don't know how to moor it up, and more often than not, one is sailing off into the distance with nobody on board, so then they call us. Yeah, over 30-something moorings, so we do a lot of mooring maintenance, a lot of mooring maintenance. Yachts again and boats into island, they drop anchors, they call us to retrieve them. And of course, helping out the fishermen again, and a lot of patrols, because it's a very big area that we have to focus on. When we're not helping fishermen and rescuing yachts, we're doing invasive species monitoring and control. It's important that the divers and fishermen here know that this is a new invasion again, the yellow brittle star. It's as close as St. Vincent, so you have to look out for it in the water. They're very, very prolific, and they cover everything. The only way to get rid of them is manually. We're looking out for them on station now. And of course, the lionfish, but we're going to talk about that in a bit. We also have a very busy turtle program this year. It's 8 months long. It's almost over. And we do a lot of work with that too, in-water surveys, beach mapping, night dives to put on those loggers to see where the turtles go at night, how long they're resting and so. And again, a lot of interaction with the people, because if you don't see a hatchling, you don't care about a hatchling. So we get the people on the beach, get them involved. So then when they see a hatchling, they know it's important the beach is clean. And then we have a lot of people come helping out for beach cleans and walking along with us. Those are our regulations. They're not much. It's a very simple thing. Just don't tamper with fish traps. It's very important for us. There's always a war between divers and fishermen on Statia. And no spear fishing on scuba, and no anchoring in the reserves, no fishing, and no unsupervised diving. Except no unsupervised activity at all in a marine reserve, not even snorkeling, unless you're a local. And then we have the lucky thing for us is we have so many regulations on Statia, and we have this little handbook that the rangers walk around with. If somebody demands to see what proof of what you're telling them, we have a little handbook put out. And then of course, there's always people that don't want to go to the rules. We always have young guys in the weekends, spear fishing, of course, in the reserve. So we do a lot of on-land monitoring as well. Those pictures were taken from land, and they were caught at Warren, because that was the first time. And then we have fishermen that are fishing really close to the boundaries, and sometimes it goes in, and you tell them, okay, your trap went in, take it out. But if it's in 10 or 20 meters, then we have a problem. So we use GPS and Google to show them where it is. Since we're just only 3 people, for all our work, we have to use the Coast Guard. They're very good. When we call them, they come out. If they can't come out, they send a plane, they take pictures, and you can get fined afterwards still. And they're less than an hour away from us, because they're based on St. Martin. If you call them, they're there in 40 minutes. We're starting to zone for water sports, because it's very dangerous, and when the young guys on these jet skis, they don't care, they want to impress, they don't care who's in the water, so we're going to move them out of there. But we have a lot of development going on station now on the bayfront, and it's there's always a lot of runoff, and the reserve starts right there, so as well, they're finally recognizing that our organization has to be involved in all the planning and the monitoring when these things are going on. When was this? Last year, 2 years ago? The oil terminal wanted to expand, and this is what they wanted to do. And this strip right here on the bottom, that gray strip, is like the only beach we have on station. It's not much, and it comes and goes, but that's where everybody swims. And they wanted to put a 1.5 mile long new pier where the mega tankers could come. So like we would lose our last beach that we have, our only one. So there was a lot of protests and meetings and letters to the paper. So they changed their plans, and now they're going to just put a little tiny dock, temporary they say, and only a few tanks. So that was a little victory for the local population. And this is the problem when you have an oil facility. The tankers come and they pretty much wreck anything that they drop their anchors on. The 3 circles, light blue circles, are where they're supposed to anchor, but sometimes they anchor where they want, and it's on somebody's fish spot. And literally sometimes when they're pulling up the anchor, you can see fish traps coming up with the anchor. So again, that's another issue that the fishermen have. Also, more tankers means more oil spills, and this is just recent. We have to deal with oil sheen and actual oil coming up on the beach from time to time. We only have 3 staff. I wish we had money to hire more, because we have to practically clone ourselves to get all our work done. But we do try to train our staff as much as possible and send them away. And it's good because then you get a lot of contacts on the different islands. And as well, when you get these contacts, anything you need, everybody's just the answer, just the email away or phone call away, which is good for us. And I always put that up because we're always talking about fish, 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 but in the reserve, there's so many beautiful things that you're protecting, and you wouldn't want a fish pot to come down on one of these when they just drop them indiscriminately. Okay, that was it for what we do, and I'll save questions for later. And Miss Might is gonna take us to what we came here for, which is lion fish.
So these are some of the subjects we will talk about: identification, background and history of the lionfish. We heard something today, and some stuff that I would like to emphasize a bit more on maybe. Lionfish biology, ecology, the impact, venomous and first aid treatment when you get stung. Education, outreach, controlling, reporting, research, what we do, and our database. I will go into that a bit now. And our data, and then a discussion, and then potential market development with the lionfish. So there is different kinds of lionfish, as you might know. And yeah, you can see the different images, but they are native in the Pacific. But the ones that we have here is the red or the black lionfish, and it's these two. And the red lionfish is the ones to the left, and the black lionfish is one to the right. And the one that we have the most is the red lionfish. Sometimes when you go out, you can confuse them, and you think you have lionfish everywhere. But as you see, for instance, this feather duster is quite similar looking to a lionfish spine, or the Christmas sweet tree worm, or the scorpion fish. So it happens sometimes. So this is the native distribution. The red lionfish is in the area of, if I can call it, behind Australia, while the black lionfish are more in Asia. The origin of the lionfish is discussed upon, and yes, it might have come from Andrew. They have noticed lionfish in the 80s, as we talked about, but really the important thing is that they are here now. So wherever they came from, we need to do something now. And also, as the captain said that they have this gelatinous mass of eggs. They spread with the current, but they could also spread with the ballast water, they think. And yeah, when the ships come and crosses the different regions, the eggs could also be dispersed by that.
When we just had our lionfish training, reef was given it, and they said absolutely not, it can be ballast water because where they come from, the ship will take too much months and months to get there. And so, but for instance, where we are, we have an oil facility. There's one tanker that goes to Puerto Rico that's infested, and it comes back. Like it does this weekly. So it is a possibility that it comes in with the ballast water from that tanker, for instance. So it's a yes and a no on the ballast water issue, depending.
Yeah, and then also they are going to implement on all the tankers that they're going to have this filter system, but that's not going to be active until 2015. So until then, who knows? So yeah, the origin of the infestation, it's Hurricane Andrew in '92 that is discussed about. But then also, as we said, it has been reported to be seen in '85 around Florida. Some divers, I think they were research divers. Yeah. And this was, I will just sit down for these ones. So in '92, you can see the red dot by Florida's coast. And then in 1907, they recorded more lionfish. And in 2003, it started to spread and even quite high up in the US and Bermuda. And then in 2007, it started to be a rapid spread in the Caribbean. And in 2009, even denser. And this is now in 2012, and I think even now it's even further down. They're talking about it's going to go down the coast of South America as well. Yeah. So a little bit about lionfish biology and ecology. So there's many different sizes, and the smallest one, I will say it in inches, is 1 to 1/8 of an inch. And the largest one measured is 18 to 2/3 of an inch. And yeah, in the natural habitats, the lionfish don't become as big as they do here. And they usually stay, whatever this is in inches, I use centimeters, so I'm really bad at it. So they stay at around 20 centimeters big, but in the Caribbean, they just continue to be bigger, of probably that they have this spread and the food that they don't have in the natural range. In the Pacific, for instance, it's when you go and dive and you see a lionfish, it's an unusual sighting and you're happy about it because if you see one, you're lucky. But here it's the opposite. They're controlled. They don't really know much about why they're controlled in the Pacific and not here. They think it's mainly by the larva stage and the egg stage. That something happens, something is predating on them. There is a lot of discussion about big groupers eating lionfish, but when they tested it out, it didn't really. So they think mainly it's something eating them when they're larvae and eggs. So yeah, the eggs, they are capable of reproducing year-round and not only once or twice. The females can reproduce every 4th days, and that means that they can roughly do it 5 times a month. So each egg has individual blood supply, which causes them to grow really quick, and they can disperse more than 15,000 eggs in an egg ball sac, and that is released each time. And as he said, it's gelatinous and it floats up. They sexually mature at 7 to 8 inches, so approximately the lionfish is 1 year old when they're ready to reproduce. And since they are buoyant, the eggs and larvae are dispersed with the ocean currents, and just as the sargassum goes with the ocean currents, as well as the lionfish eggs. So threats to the ecosystem and fisheries. As we all know, lionfish are voracious predators. They are generalist carnivores. That means that they eat everything. They don't only eat fish, they also eat a lot of shrimps and crustaceans. They mainly wipe out juvenile fish species, but they can eat a prey size up to half of its body length. And you can, if you have a lionfish in the tank and you just feed them, they don't stop. They just eat and eat. There is like no limit of how much they eat. They just continue. And there's so of course it's going to be a noticeable reduction of the species on the reefs. So where can you find lionfish? Nowadays you can find them everywhere in the Caribbean. It's not only on the reefs. They really love, at least on Statia, wrecks, artificial structures, attire, anything they're around. Caves, ledges, seagrass beds, rubble, piling, mangroves, anywhere. If you just go on a sandy dive and there is one little coral head or a sponge, you have lionfish. So they're hunting mainly in dusk and dawn, but also if it's cloudy, they prefer to come out. If it's really sunny, they go in under ledges. It's quite important to know if you're going to go out actively to hunt them, to maybe not look, if it's really bright and sunny out, to not look on top of the reef and just look a bit where they're hiding. They have a very interesting hunting technique as well. They spread out all their fins, dorsal and pectoral ones, and they shake them a bit. And they're black and white, so they have this nice silhouette for the prey. They don't even notice it when it comes, and it moves slowly towards the prey. And when they come in front of it, they burp or they blow out some water, so it makes the prey to switch. So the face is facing the lionfish, and then they just suck it in. So the prey has no chance. And this is very unique because they haven't noticed other fish to burp on their prey. Yeah. So this is some of the food that they consume. What I said, shrimps, crustaceans, mainly juvenile fish. So I said that they are voracious eaters, and they can also be on a diet for quite a long time. They can go up for 12 weeks without eating and still survive. They also did the test of putting 2 lionfish in a tank and see if they would start consuming each other after a while. They put in a little juvenile, and they don't. They're not cannibalizing on each other. So impact on the reef, if you can see any other fish in this image, or it's mainly the lionfish. I think I counted 6 in this photo. Okay, so the impact on human and health risks. So the lionfish is venomous. That doesn't mean it's poisonous. And that's something that is really important to stress to fishermen that will consume or handle the lionfish. It's also important to teach where the spines are. The entire lionfish is not spiny. So it has 13 dorsal fins that you can prick yourself on, and it also have a long pectoral fin, 3 anal fin spines, and then 2 pelvic fin spines. There's a lot of spines, especially when they spread out. So other behaviors that you can see with the lionfish, that they are fearless and they can approach divers. I notice it mainly in the night when you have a flashlight, they come towards you. They can attack if they feel provoked. When lionfish move in for an attack, it can happen so fast that unless a diver sees it happen, they may not even know they got stung. And the results of a sting could look like this. This hand looks really bad though. I don't know why he has the blisters, but the guy has some blisters. Up left corner is just when he got pricked, and after 5 days he got the necrosis when the fish starts dying. I would just like to say I got stung by a lionfish, and it wasn't that bad at all, actually. I got stung first, and I was like, is this really it? So I continued to dive and hunt some more. But after 17 minutes, I started to feel it, and then I went up. And yeah, so I'm going to talk about the first aid treatment. So as soon as you can, if you get stung, is to flush it with hot water as as warm as you can stand, but be very careful because you already got like a reduction of your feeling in your hand, so you don't check it with your normal hand first, because otherwise if you put it in really warm water, you can actually give burn damages to the hand that is stung. It's usually the spines don't break off in you, but still look if they do, or if you have some kind of other debris to clean it out. Take pain medication and seek emergency medical attention immediately. So the venom, I have issues with this word. The venom is denatured protein. So that means that, think about it as an boiled egg. When you get stung, you get the poison into you, and if you don't put it in hot water, it becomes like a boiled egg, so it's like a reverse egg thing. As soon as you put it in hot water, the protein starts to denature, and the poison breaks down. So if you wouldn't do anything, it would just swell up like the egg. But if you put it in, the poison breaks down and you're fine. So it's not that the poison goes out from your wound, it breaks down, and the body can take care of it. So that, and also when you soak your hand, it's going to be at least for 45 minutes. It takes a while. You feel it when you start to get less pain. But I think for me, for instance, I was waiting since I was continuing to dive. It started to crawl up my arm a bit. So maybe if you would go up straight, that I would recommend. An hour in the water, and then you don't feel much afterwards.
With agriculture right in our corner, we're bound to prosper and be the envy of the area.